Welcome to Central Georgia Focus. I'm your host today, Caitlin Heck. We are in the holiday season, and that includes all kinds of fun times, including some holiday parties. And you may go out and enjoy family and friends, but remember, we have entered a deadly month for impaired driving. December is Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over, Impaired Driving Prevention Month. National, state, and local law enforcement are reminding everyone, if you're planning to go out and celebrate with alcohol, plan for a sober driver home. DUI is not the gift that you want for Christmas. Our guest today to talk about the holiday safety and on the roads is Roger Hayes, Director of the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, and Lieutenant Maurice Rains with Georgia State Patrol. Thank you both for being with us.
Honored to be here
today. Of course, the numbers don't lie. December, one of the deadliest months when it comes to DUIs and impaired driving. Why is that?
Well, basically, people need to understand that DUI deaths doesn't have to happen. It's 100% preventable. We don't have to make the wrong decision to get behind the wheel while you're impaired. And so that's why this campaign is very important, that we educate the motoring public. We need them to help us prevent these from happening. And so we have this campaign to get the public to understand that it's a partnership. We're going to do our part, but we need them to help us do their part.
And why do you think that's especially important this time of year?
Well, I think there's a lot more traffic. A lot more travel. People going to grandma's house, things such as that, going to get-togethers with family and friends and work friends. So the more that they're out there, a lot of times there is alcohol involved and other things. So it's more important for us to pay attention then and make the plans ahead of time. Unfortunately, over the last 5 years, in the month of December alone, over 4,500 people have died on the highways from impaired driving fatalities. And that's just an unacceptable number for us.
Oh, speaking of those stats, we do have a couple of them we want to try to put on your screen. Like you said, 4,500 people killed in those couple years, 2017 to 2021. Over 1,000 people died in alcohol-impaired driving crashes in 2021 alone. So like you said, those are numbers that are preventable.
Correct. You know, when you think about it, it's a bad decision that you would take the opportunity to not only endanger your life, but also endanger someone else's life by making the wrong decision. You do not have to drink and drive. And the public is doing that. And law enforcement, we see it every day. We see it every year. And this time of year where you're getting together with your family, your friends, you're having parties, you're celebrating the season, you don't have to make that decision, because in making that decision, you could cause you to lose your own life as well as take someone else, and then we're left with the burden to go notify that family that a loved one is not coming back.
And we say drive sober, get pulled over. It's not just a slogan. You guys are doing your part too to make sure that people are safe on the roads. Talk about some of the local and the national and state campaigns going on.
So from December 14th all the way through January the 1st, state, local law enforcement will be out doing more concentrated patrols. As a matter of fact, this weekend I have a whole team that will be in Savannah working this weekend. The Georgia State Patrol is our number one partner, Department of Public Safety, and they'll be out. So we'll be out trying to do our part. We'll be seen, but we would rather have voluntary compliance than us having to make those choices for them.
Like you said, you guys are doing your part, but you need other people to cooperate who are on the roads too.
Exactly.
And we talk about drivers, but we also mentioned, holiday parties. You're hosting a holiday party, you think everything is good, you're offering drinks, but as the host of maybe a gathering, what is your responsibility to make sure that the people who come to your gathering get home safely?
Very simple. Don't allow someone to leave your party under the influence. Don't take their keys. Make sure they got a designated driver. Figure that out beforehand, that someone's going to designate themselves not to drink because they know they got to drive. So we're asking those that are going to have those celebrations, that are going to have those parties, step up to the plate. Don't allow anyone to leave your home at a celebration that you had to have a good time, to know that it could lead to someone horrifically losing their life because you allowed them to leave your home impaired.
And what we're not saying is, don't have a party, don't have people over, don't have alcohol involved. Have a plan.
Right, just have a plan. In today's times, there's so many rideshare programs as well. So there's Uber, there's Lyft, there's other ones, there's taxis. There's always a way to get home safely. I see a lot of times on social media where someone will say, I'd rather you call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and ask me for a ride home to come get you than to me get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning that something devastating has happened to you or someone else.
That's definitely a good comparison. Talking about, some of these accidents, we saw some of those numbers that were just, horrific to even see. You guys have been in law enforcement a long time. Have you seen those numbers increase recently every year, or are you seeing a decrease? What kind of trends are we looking at right now?
We see increases. We see that the numbers do up because people become irresponsible. And again, it goes back to, what if everyone made the decision that I'm not going to get behind the wheel because I know I'm impaired? The numbers would go down, but unfortunately, there's more celebrations, there's more gatherings, there are more get-togethers, and people are going to drink, and then they choose to make the wrong decision, that is drive while they're impaired.
And you would think that with, like you mentioned, so many rideshare options, there's so many other options out there, why are people not choosing those? What are you saying when you're talking to people?
I think it's reckless conduct. I think it's just you're making a bad decision that you don't have to make. And to think that you would take the risk of losing your life and also causing the death of somebody else's life, it's irresponsible, and it doesn't have to happen.
And that's why you guys are here trying to put this message across. What do you really want people to take from this campaign this December?
I think the biggest thing for us is we just want everybody to get home safely. We want them to enjoy the holiday season. The holiday season is all about family, friends, your faith, the whole 9 yards. We don't want it to be at a funeral. We don't want to have to, one of our people have to go tell your family, because it is that senseless crime. It is a crime. Drunk driving is a crime, and it not only affects you, but it affects a whole lot of other people. It affects your whole family. It affects your career. It affects your work family. It affects the other people's families as well. So we just want everybody to celebrate the season. We've come through COVID. We've had to stay in the house. Enjoy your time together, but do it responsibly. And
understand this year alone, someone else is facing that tragedy this holiday season. Someone lost a loved one this previous year because someone was irresponsible getting behind the wheel. Even in Central Georgia, there's somebody dealing with that devastation this year because of the irresponsibility of somebody doing what they did, and that's drinking and driving.
Definitely something to keep in mind the moment you try to get behind the wheel.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back there, we're going to take a closer look at what is considered drunk driving and what it could cost you or someone else. Welcome back to Central Georgia Focus. We're talking about December as Impaired Driving Prevention Month, and if you're going to a party and you have to go drive, make sure you have a plan to get home safely. So we have our guests today, Roger Hayes, the Director of the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, and Lieutenant Maurice Rains with Georgia State Patrol. We've been talking about some of the numbers and some of the devastating numbers when it comes to people killed because of impaired driving. Now, people go out, they have a good time, they think, you know what, I'm okay to drive. I only had one or two, I can handle my alcohol really well, but that is not always the case.
Correct. 0.8 in the state of Georgia, you're considered driving under the influence of alcohol. Alcohol consumption, it varies from person to person. Where I may not drink, I'm impaired with just one. So why take the chance? The simple solution is knowing that at 0.8, it could cost you tons and tons of dollars for making that decision. So why take that chance? But 0.8 is the legal limit. We have one of the higher standards across the country for driving impaired.
And there are things that affect that too, about your person, with your age, your gender.
Your age, your weight, what you have had to eat, and also what kind of medication you may be taking. It may exacerbate the alcohol. A lot of people don't realize that a drink is a drink is a drink. One beer, one shot of distilled beverage, or one glass of wine all have approximately the same amount of alcohol. So a lot of times people say, well, I only had 2 beers. Well, that's equivalent to 2 shots of just hard liquor. So all of that plays into it to create that blood alcohol content.
And the myths of drinking coffee and taking a cold shower, all of those are myths. They have nothing to do with it. alcohol get removed from your system. Time is the only thing that moves alcohol from your system.
Yes, and that is something that you need to give yourself after you've had a drink.
Exactly.
By getting a ride home, spending the night wherever you are,
Exactly.
whatever it is, giving a plan ahead of time.
Exactly.
Now, talking about alcohol too, but there are other things that can affect and make you an impaired driver.
Drugs. A prescription that a doctor gives you can have you impaired, and they actually tell you don't drive when you're impaired of your medication. Mm-hmm. Medication can also impair you.
A lot of people get a prescription medication, and they think because the doctor gave it to me, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness our pharmacists put labels on it, and they'll say, do not operate heavy machinery while taking this drug. People don't realize a 3,000 pound vehicle is heavy machinery, mm-hmm. so you shouldn't be doing that. So a lot of times people just don't think about that, and we need them to be aware that drugs do impair. That's both legal drugs, and Lord of mercy, we've got the stuff with the illegal drugs. Mm-hmm. Illegal drugs, even marijuana, impairs your driving.
Now you definitely just need to be careful. Whatever it is that you're doing, have a plan, I think is the message.
Be aware
you guys are
and
trying
have
to
a plan. Yes, ma'am.
Because not having a plan is going to cost you, and it's going to cost the people that you love too. Talk about some of the costs that come with impaired driving.
Well, first of all, if you're caught, you're going to jail, which is a cost. Mm-hmm. Legally, going through the court system, it may mean that you have to get an attorney to represent you. That's cost. And it's going to cost you some jail time. Not only jail time, but community service. And then on the flip side of that, driving under the influence, being caught, it's a suspendable offense, meaning that you lose your license. You have to take driver risk program training to be reassessed to get your license back, and then pay a reinstatement fee to get your license back, let alone the insurance cost in making you a high-risk driver. So there's a lot of cost involved.
You know, $10,000 is a number that's used quite often as what the cost of a DUI. Time you have your legal fees, you take time off from work, you go through the whole process, fines and everything. So when you're looking at that most people don't have $10,000 in their bank account. I know I don't, to go do something like to pay that it's money you never get back. So just avoiding that whole situation, and then it could be long-term effects as well. If you maybe have an occupation that requires you to have a license, mm-hmm. and you're driving a company vehicle, you could lose your job because the company's insurance said no, they had a DUI, they were caught impaired, so we're not going to insure them. So it could cost you your livelihood down the road. And
not only that, it's on your driving record for life. I mean, you have a privilege to drive. You don't have a right to drive. And any actions that you take as far as a moving hazard, meaning that you're endangering your life and someone else's, that hazard stays on your driving record for life. So being impaired, yes, like Representative Hayes said, think about this. The cost that's associated with it as well, and the impact that it can have on your life. Suspended means that you can't drive yourself to work. Mm-hmm. You can't take mom to the doctor. You can't take your kids to whatever event they need to go to because your license are suspended. It's a suspendable offense, let alone jail time. You will do jail time for driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
It's like you said, there's all those short-term, but there's also so many long-term effects. But there's also, of course, effects on the people who are on the road with you.
Absolutely. You're endangering your life. First of all, being impaired means that you're not going to make the right decision at the right time. And by driving under the influence, you've already made one bad decision. Driving impaired slows down your reaction time, and if anything happens, and God forbid, bad, it's on you that you made that decision.
And talk about the impact on the victims too. God forbid you do make a bad decision and you get into an accident. You've not only impacted your own life, you've now impacted someone else.
It's a trickle effect. It absolutely is. So that family, it could have been a family that's just going down the road, and you make that bad decision. You run the red light, you run the stop sign, you fail to yield, and you hit that family. That family is now in a bad way as well. They could potentially, you may have lost them. So that whole family, and then it just continues to exasperate down the line, that there's more and more people that's affected by your one bad decision.
And not even talking about the other person losing their life. I mean, they could lose their job, they could be injured, they could have all kinds of other trickle effects.
Yes, exactly.
So I don't know any beer or drink that is worth all of that.
No, not in my house.
Well, we want to make sure that you are staying safe this holiday season. So we're going to continue this conversation right after the break. Welcome back to Central Georgia Focus. We are talking about December as Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over, Impaired Driving Prevention Month. We've talked about the impacts of driving impaired. We've talked about things you need to look for, but let's talk about that plan ahead part. What do people need to do to make sure they have a ride home?
Designated driver is the key. Designate someone that is going to the celebration or going to the party to be one that decides not to drink. Have a designated driver at the party.
Now, having a designated driver does not mean the person who only has one beer versus 2 or 3. That is someone who is not drinking.
That is correct.
That's right. Even if you've had one drink, don't risk it. Don't risk that. Be that person that has just the soft drink or the water or the sweet tea for that night, and then just say no. If you're the host of that party or you're the host of that gathering, just have a bowl. Tell them to put their keys in there. We'll make sure you get home.
And of course, a lot of ride-share services out there. Governor's Office of Highway Safety helping out with Lyft this year.
That's correct. During the month of December, the end of December, we've partnered with Lyft with a grant through the Governor's Highway Safety Association. If you go to your Lyft app, you'll be given a $20 certificate to get you home during those times. So that's another opportunity to get you home safely. But we encourage people to use that. Our partners at AAA, you've heard AAA Tow to Go. AAA will you can call them. They will come and tow your vehicle within, I think it's 10 miles of home, so get you home there as well. A plug for our coroner here in Bibb County. During New Year's Eve, he has vans. You can call Leon, and Leon will come and give you a ride home. So there's plenty of other ways that you can get home.
Speaking of Leon, here's a graphic for you to look at. He's been doing this for like 12 years now. He has 2 15-passenger vans he's going to have for New Year's Eve, sponsored by Fairhaven Funeral Home, and the gas provided by Richard Robinson Funeral Home. Rides to and from where you need to go. It starts at 6 o'clock that night. So he says, if you need a ride, give him a call. The number's there on your screen. Get your phone out if you're at home. Go ahead and take a screenshot of it with your phone so you have it on New Year's Eve when you really need it. Because, Coroner Leon Jones always says, I'd rather give you a ride in a van now than give you a ride in a hearse later.
That's correct. That's correct.
And so another, thing to keep in mind when you're out there is there are plenty of options to get you home. Like we mentioned earlier, you guys have been in law enforcement a long time. I'm sure you have some instances where you've had to see some of the horrible impacts of impaired driving. If you all have any thoughts or things you want to share.
Well, it goes back to what we said in the beginning. A drunk driver doesn't have to happen. You do not have to choose to get behind the wheel. And the consequences of making that decision, I do hope that if you make that decision, you get caught, because there is no warning that day when that happens. I know that a Georgia State Trooper, I know that a deputy sheriff, I know that a police officer will take you into custody if you decide to drive impaired. We've got to get you off the road. To get you off the road is to take you to jail for that action. And to help us, we need the motoring public to understand that we need their help during these times. We want everybody to celebrate, we want everybody to have their parties, we want them to have a great time. We're going to do our part, but we need the motoring public to help us by doing their part. Designate a driver, like the Director Hayes said. Use Lyft, use some other alternative than to make the decision, which is the wrong decision, to drink and drive. And
again, we talked about one beer for some people can do the trick. I think we have some numbers on what it takes to get your alcohol level and what impacts your alcohol levels. Can you guys talk a little bit more about some of these factors that go into that?
So absolutely. So if you've not eaten today and you start drinking, your blood alcohol level will increase faster. One beer, one glass of wine, one shot of distilled spirits is about 0.5 grams of alcohol. So all of them have the same. So no matter whether you've had one beer or 5 beers, it's equal to 5 shots of this or 5 glasses of wine. So it all plays. Whether your weight, in males and females, it makes a difference. Generally, a female will become intoxicated faster than a male will. Males are typically, there are more males. There's more males that die in alcohol-related crashes as well. So sometimes we believe that the reason for that is they don't want to say, well, I'm impaired, so I'm going to give up my keys. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
And it doesn't matter whether you're drinking really quickly or you've been drinking all day, it's still going to impact your blood alcohol the same.
Still.
And so don't be that person that says, I just had one, it'll take a while to get into my system. Right. No, it's in your system.
Exactly. It's been interesting over 30-year career. You stop someone and you ask, you talking to them about driving impaired, and they said, well, I've only had 2 beers. There's more people in the state of Georgia had just 2 beers and went to jail for a high blood alcohol limit. So it affects it. Everything has an effect on your body.
And I know you all have seen a lot in your careers in law enforcement. Is there anything that sticks out in your mind, a crash that you saw or something that happened that, really just kind of drives home the importance of this?
Well, to know that, again, when you look at over our career and being in law enforcement for so long, it is a senseless act. It doesn't have to happen. Think about this. You're impaired. You know that your reaction time is slowing down because you are impaired. And you make the decision to get behind a wheel, to endanger your life and someone else's, and forget the consequences of that reality, that something bad, that bad decision that you made to do it is going to lead to a bad decision that's made while you're driving. And in all of that, at the end of the day, it could take your life or take someone else's life. And the norm is, as a society, we don't accept it. But the attitude of those that do it feels like it is accepted. It is not accepted. It is not accepted behavior, and it never will be accepted behavior. So again, we're going to do our part through the Governor's Office of Highway Safety and the Georgia State Patrol, the Sheriff's Department, Police Department. All of us are going to do our part to help everyone celebrate. We just can't enforce it enough to say we need the public to help us.
And talk very briefly as we recap what you all are doing to make sure that is enforced as we go into December.
So we've got the Drive Sober, Get Pulled Over national campaign. Starts December the 14th, runs through January the 2nd. Heightened awareness, heightened law enforcement out. They're out there to do their job. They don't want to do their job, but they're willing to do the job if they have to. So during that period of time, we ask people to use good judgment. Use the ride share programs. Don't drink and drive. Slow down. You can get there just as fast. And please put your phone down as well.
All right, all good things to keep in mind as we go into this holiday season. Again, it's not that you don't want people to celebrate. You want them to celebrate safely. Well, thank you all for being here. And thank you so much for all that you do. Hopefully we have made an impact on somebody. And thank you for joining us for Central Georgia Focus.